And there's 18.
They've changed the view and I can't change it back. I'm sorry, Lana.
Oh, do you want to
Take
see
it away,
everyone?
Oh, it's okay.
There we are.
Right, I can see. It looked quite empty. Just us. We're enough. Okay, let's begin by taking refuge. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas, so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhahood. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas, so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhahood. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas, so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhahood. That's about as big compassion as you can get, isn't it? Like all Buddhas, what are they? They're just love and compassion. That's what they are. Not confused by seeing things as in the wrong way, trying to grasp what can't be grasped. And what are beings? They're the same thing, they're Buddhas, but they haven't learnt not to grasp, so they're suffering. So that we take refuge in the Buddhas, so that we all realize that's our nature. Our nature is love and compassion. The nature of everything is love and compassion. That's a big jump, isn't it? We were watching earlier this week Brian Cox in Barbican, looking out at the universe, a big screen with all these sort of dots and lights all over it. And he was talking about the infinity of the universe, or not, compared with our finite existence, and the importance of meaning. Rather than stressing the importance of meaning, he didn't really say anything about it, except to somehow there is some connection between music and meaning, which he left in the air, really, like, what's that commitment? What was that connection? And then he's looking out and saying, how wonderful it was that through mathematics you could actually discover this great universe. So vast, and discovering more and more. And most of it's empty space. It's just, there are these universes, but they're so far away. Well, like, almost, what are they to us, really? And then you think about, and even that is mathematically somehow, I don't know how, they can show that that's only, I don't know, something like 95% of, only about 5% of all there is, which, it's amazing. So actually, that, although it looks so vast and amazing, it's mostly not much. And that's only a tiny little fraction of what there is. So that's impressive, isn't it? And then you're looking for meaning. The sort of assumption is, well, we're this one little spot in the middle of the universe that's discovered itself, and it sort of holds the meaning of the whole thing. And kind of reminds us of the precious human birth, doesn't it? Like, it's very rare to get this opportunity. Then you think about love and compassion. So that from that point of view of, well, the whole universe has evolved to produce this being that can then know itself, and then that's kind of popped out of the material universe somehow. So love and compassion is somehow popped out of all of that. And there's absolutely no way you can argue it that makes any sense at all. We have no evidence that material things can produce knowing awareness. There's no evidence of that. And it's obvious that the world that we know we've created from concepts which definitely come out of the mind. So we know it works that way. We have absolutely no reason to think it worked the other way. It's amazing, isn't it? So taking the line that, well, okay, we don't know anything outside of the mind except what we conjecture. But we do know the mind because that's all we do know. Call it mind, call it experience, whatever. It's 95% of what we know, visible, knowable universe is not known through the senses. I mean, what is it? It's quite conceivable that actually the universe sprang from love and compassion. Why not? I mean, there's no reason why not. It's just a huge leap. But it's not such a bizarre leap as going the other way. So that sense that actually maybe love and compassion is primary. The reason why it's in the universe is because the universe actually emerged out of it. Why not? And confusion arose out of the mind, didn't it? I mean, where the love and compassion has kind of become distorted, then confusion arises, and then we create this idea of a separate universe from ourselves, which we then like to explore and say, oh, look what we found out about it. We found out all these things about it. Isn't that wonderful of us? Actually, there's something even more wonderful to discover, which is not separate. I mean, if you're looking at the universe and thinking, well, where's the meaning? You could go the other way. Well, here's the meaning. What is the universe in relationship to it? I mean, maybe well, it is definitely what we're talking about here when we're talking about love and compassion. It's the meaning of the whole thing. And love, it's its own meaning, isn't it? If you're really enjoying the experience of love, that's it. Makes it all meaningful, doesn't it? And if it isn't actually serving that sense of meaning, it isn't really love, is it? Something else. Maybe pretending to be love. We know it's not really love, don't we? Oh, well, it faded, it went, disappeared again. It wasn't really love, it was something I was holding on to or chasing after or deluding myself with. It wasn't really love. I think it's wonderful that we say things like that. They're so profoundly true. We're intuiting something that's so profoundly true. It's right there just in the way we talk and intuit things. So today, I wanted to have a final session bringing together all the various things we've been looking at this year under the topic of love and compassion. Looking at what we've started to look at. It's been an amazing year, actually. There's been so many initiatives on the part of so many of the people in the Sangha to explore this whole topic. And you could really think, well, this is the fundamental topic. When we move on next year to emptiness, it's in the light of how to really understand the nature of ourselves and beings so that our love can be more genuine, true, universal, meaningful, satisfactory. So love and compassion, if you like, if we could get it straight away, that's it. We would understand emptiness. But probably we're moving in the direction of aspiring to deepening our love and compassion. And that would drive us into the next topic, really, which is what the true nature of beings, which has this rather empty sounding name of insight into emptiness. But we should approach it with that sense of what are then beings? If we are going to love all beings equally and be able to benefit all beings universally, which is, if you like, the bodhicitta, where we came in this morning, we're going to have to really work on insight into the nature of emptiness, whether we call it emptiness or not. You may want to call it something like ungraspability, or interpenetration of all worlds. So I'm really looking forward to next year as well. But yesterday Tara reminded me of something I wrote some years ago, 2014, and I updated it last year. I've forgotten that completely. But it was really, I was, at the time I wrote this, I thought it was earlier than 2014. But I remember when I wrote it, there was, we were talking about burnout and talking about never feeling you'd done enough, a sort of anxiety of, I could do more, I could do more. And of course, when you consider how many beings there are, that other 95% of the universe, which is, why couldn't it be all the beings of all the 6 realms? I mean, compared with all the beings of the 6 realms, the human realm is probably about 5%. I don't know. But still, given that many beings, I mean, we're always going to be in a situation where there's that feeling that we can't really help them all. A sense of they're still suffering. What can I do? They're still suffering. I mean, my little bit that I do is not going to be enough. So it's kind of feeling discouraged. And even in the situation you're in your life, there's more people around you probably that need your help in ways that you can't possibly meet all the needs that they have. They all need somebody to be with them all the time to kind of cheer them up, make them happy, look after them. You can't do that for more than a limited number, even if it's just one. I mean, even just looking after yourself is. So there's that feeling almost of like discouragement about that, and almost feeling guilty to ever feel relaxed, because there's always, if I relax, that is a little gap in which I might have helped somebody else. So it's kind of endless. I'm just checking. Yes, we can end up feeling over-responsible, can't we? So we're always tense and wound up and anxious about, trying to keep it all together and fix everything and make sure everybody's all right. So I wrote this really with that in mind. It's not written for the lazy who just want to kind of ditch everything, not take any responsibility for anything. It's more for the kind of person that is weighed down by over-responsibility. And I find actually people who are interested in Dharma, this is usually their problem. Not always, but this is more likely, among Westerners anyway, for this to be their problem than to not care. Just not care about other people. But it's how do you care, completely care, and at the same time not try to do everything yourself, or just try and keep yourself totally busy all the time. So that's what I wrote it with that in mind. So I'll read it to you and then I'll talk about it. The power of love and compassion. Love and compassion are inherent in the nature of the universe. Compassion is the power to relieve suffering, and it's intrinsic to our being. Our love and compassion are integral to the love and compassion of reality itself. The love and compassion of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Our love and compassion are enough. They have power in themselves to help and to heal. Now is the time to relax all self-effort and trust the power of love and compassion to accomplish all our tasks. It will accomplish all that is possible to be accomplished today. So relax and trust the spontaneous power of love and compassion, working through all the choices we make and the things we do and don't do. The power of love and compassion cannot fail, whatever the immediate outcome. Self-clinging is always self-defeating in the end. There's no doubt about it. Since the power of love and compassion will work through us spontaneously, we can relax. The power of love and compassion itself will accomplish all things perfectly. It's another way of expressing what we discover in discovering the heart of Buddhism and trusting the heart of Buddhism. Actually, love and compassion are openness, clarity, sensitivity. They are the indestructible heart essence. They are, if you like, the heart wish. It's just another way of talking about the same thing. Something perhaps we miss when we think about openness, clarity, sensitivity that we discover within ourselves. We have those moments of realizing, oh yeah, that is my nature. Without really realizing it's a nature of the universe itself. Like we're tuning into something that's, if you like, it's everything. It's not just my openness, clarity, sensitivity, or my love and compassion. It's the nature of everything. The whole world, the whole universe sprang out of this which is what I am. And it has a power. It's not just sentiment. It's not just a particular sentiment I have. Oh, I feel very loving. Oh, I feel nice and warm and loving. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, maybe it does feel like that, but it has a power. Like you feel compassion, you see somebody suffering and you can't bear it, and you're driven to act to try and remove that suffering, because there's a power in that wishing to remove the suffering of others already, even before you've acted, because it is actually in the universe itself. The universe itself doesn't want that to happen. So you're tuning into something powerful when you tune into love and compassion. So when we feel love and compassion, or we're acting from love and compassion, maybe it's not a feeling, maybe it's you're just acting it out, you're acting out your nature. So perhaps you don't even notice it as a particular feeling, you're just acting out love and compassion. It's like, oh, is this my love and compassion, or is it the Buddha's and Bodhisattva's love and compassion? Or is it the Guru's love and compassion? Whose love and compassion is it? If it's mine, it might not be enough. But if it's just love and compassion, it's intrinsic to the nature of reality itself. It has no limit. So in a way, it's Guru Yoga. You're linking into the love and compassion of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. It's coming to you. You are it. You're integral. You're not. Your love and compassion isn't separate from that. So that's why it's enough. And that's a strange thought, isn't it? That actually, if that love and compassion is pervading the whole universe all the time, if you like, it was there even before the universe was there. There was this power to bring happiness, and any suffering that might arise is just completely dispelled by it. Like light banishes darkness. It's just always just like that. And linking into it, even without doing anything, you're linking into, if you like, the purpose of the universe, the purpose of the reality itself, its aim, what it's aiming at, which is just universal enjoyment of beings enjoying them enjoying beings, and any sense of confusion or suffering that arises is being acted on all the time to try and dispel it. That power's there all the time. So if we have some sort of trust in that, we could relax, couldn't we? Just link into that. You could call it adhisthana. I mean, that is what the adhisthana of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas is. It is this love and compassion. So we could open out to that in whatever we're doing. We get up in the morning and think, oh, today is going to be all about acting out of love and compassion. Everything I do, get out of bed, stretch, love and compassion for myself, my body, the environment, clean my teeth because I love my teeth, I eat my food because I love food, I love eating, I enjoy everything about it. All this is actually love and compassion bubbling up. You could say, I don't know whether you'd say for yourself, it's just self-existent enjoyment and love and compassion, and wanting to bring that more into the world for others as well as yourself. Now is the time to relax all self-effort and trust the power of love and compassion to accomplish all our tasks. And it will accomplish all that's possible to accomplish today. So often we set ourselves goals that's not possible to accomplish today, for whatever reason. Might just be because of our confusion. Might be just the level of confusion we have today is going to limit how much you're going to be able to accomplish today, but what you do accomplish will have been accomplished by the power of love and compassion itself. And what you haven't accomplished, well, you know, what you did today is what you did today. That's it. There can't be another. There's no alternative to that, so you might as well relax. And you think, well, yeah, but all these things that I haven't done are piling up. Yeah. So you can have love and compassion for that, can't you? I mean, shanti, patience, forbearance. Actually, that's love and compassion, isn't it? Just like turning towards that big pile of things that haven't been got done. Just kind of open out to that, and the power of love and compassion will deal with that one way or another. So this isn't for the person who's really rather keen on just pushing things aside. This is for the person who's over responsible and feeling, like feeling the burden of all the things that need to be done. So relax and trust the spontaneous power of love and compassion. When it says spontaneous, it means not created by our effort. It's inherent in the nature of things that this love and compassion is there accomplishing things. So you can trust that rather than think you have to sort of somehow whip it up more, make it do more. When you feel that sense of insufficiency, and to the point where to a certain extent that's good because it makes you act. Some of it's coming from the love and compassion that's getting you to act, but then it goes into overdrive where you really need to, when you notice that overdrive and anxiety, and go back into just trusting the love and compassion is acting. It is acting even while you're not acting. And sometimes it demonstrates itself in strange ways where you actually find that you have actually accomplished something, or it's been attributed to you when you didn't actually do anything. That does happen sometimes, and when it does happen, it maybe reaffirms this, that it actually is carrying on even though you're not doing anything. So often, less is more, isn't it? We think we need to do more, but actually if we'd done a bit less, it probably would have helped more. So it's definitely for people who are anxious about their responsibilities. So working through all the choices we make and the things we do and don't do. So, because that's the thing we worry about, isn't it? Did I make the wrong choice? Did I make the wrong choice? My intention was compassion, but maybe I made the wrong choice. And there's no answer to that in a way. I mean, yes, you can learn by your mistakes. That's good. But you can't go back on them, So maybe you could just trust that, okay, that mistake in a way had to happen just to show me something, or maybe in a way that I'll never know why it had to happen. Often I think we get anxious because we're afraid of making mistakes, aren't we? I make the wrong choice. But if you can just trust that sense of what I'm doing is actually tuning in with the love and compassion in the universe, and yes, I will make mistakes, but in a way they'll correct themselves through the power of love and compassion, mine and the universe's, which actually are not so separate as I think at the moment. What you can be sure of that is beating yourself up and feeling bad about yourself is clinging to your idea of yourself, and that will definitely not produce anything good. So it's good to reflect on that. What's the choice? Trusting love and compassion, or turning on myself, which is grasping myself in this small way, that is definitely leading nowhere. So really get used to the fact that isn't going anywhere. There's a fear of complacency, isn't there? So there's a fine line there. Yes, there should be some sort of doubt. Is this self-complacency? And then more just moving in the direction of trusting that actually there's something else working here, and even praying to that. You can even pray to your own heart sometimes, can't you? Like that song we sing where you pray to your own heart. So there's no doubt about it. It's a very bold statement. I like bold statements. Is there a doubt about it? You have a look to see. Could it be otherwise? Since the power of love and compassion will work through us spontaneously, we can relax. And the power of love and compassion itself will accomplish all things perfectly. It's quite interesting as I was reading that, I was thinking about my Tibetan friends and colleagues, and how they have this wonderful sense of spaciousness and steadiness, and it's not complacency, but there is a sort of contentment in that they've done enough. It's very strong. So it means that they don't get burnt out. I mean, I'm generalising, of course. I'm just thinking about quite a few people that I really admire, Lama's attendants and Lamas themselves, and they have this wonderful sense of well-being about them, even though they're not actually rushing about doing everything. They do accomplish a lot, but they don't have that anxiety that we do. I think it must be because they do have this sense of the adhisthana, the love and compassion, that they're trusting. They trust that what they do that's good is going to have a good result, and they trust the fact that their motivation is good, and accept the fact they're not going to accomplish everything, and, Kali, Kali, that's what they say. Slow down, one thing at a time. Gently, gently, rather than, come on. I mean, that's a massive generalisation, isn't it? But nonetheless, there's a quality there that perhaps we don't cultivate quite as much as they do. Or we're not taught to cultivate it quite the way they are. Yeah. So there you are. I just wanted to mention some of the wonderful things that have been going on this year. This Love and Compassion year. So we started off the teaching, the first formal teaching I gave on it was the Metta Sutta, which says it all really. I mean, that is the apamanas, and that is... so then I talked about the apamana practices, the 4 immeasurables. And then Tonglen. So we could have spent a lot more time on all those, actually. And in fact, Tara and other people in the others of the teachers and mentors within the Sangha did run various courses and events. So I was really, really happy to see what they've been doing. I was looking at the program that Sherab ran, and 5 and Ziji, and am I missing out? And of course Tara did a lot of work, and she's going to be talking to us when I've stopped talking. She'll talk about more about the courses she's been running and how she's going to go forward with that, because obviously we just scraped the surface this year. And in general, I've asked Tara to take responsibility for this area of teaching, so that she can make sure that there are teaching packages and materials and transcripts and suggestions for courses and so on. And so everybody else who wants to help her or want to teach things related to this topic, she's the go-to person. And I look forward to seeing what will emerge over the years, because as she keeps saying, oh dear, I'm not sure if I can do all this in 1 year. And I thought, no, I don't think so. I think this is a lifetime's work. There's so much richness within the Mahayana tradition of how to take this one area forward. But of course, really taking it forward means moving into the next area, which is the insight into emptiness. So, but if you don't get very far with that, you're still on the right track. If at least you've really worked a lot with love and compassion, you're not going to lose your way. So that's why I've brought this in first, because it's the foundation for everything else, the purpose behind everything else, really. So then we've done a lot of, as well as that, we've also done a lot of work within the Mahayana Ghana on practicalities in terms of how to look after each other, to look after the Sangha, to look after each other, to address people who are having particular problems. So we started off the year with a trauma workshop with Kevin, that's right. So that sort of set the tone for the year, really, sort of looking into trauma, our own trauma, and then people who have quite strong symptoms of having had an early trauma, and that's locked in their body, where it doesn't have to just be an early trauma, and how that relates to, our Dharma practice, really. And that's completely about love and compassion, love towards ourselves and others, and being able to help others more effectively. We had towards the end of the year, we had a grief workshop with children. We've had, goodness knows, we've had so much stuff. Yeah, Deki and Carmel did death and dying workshop, but for funerals, and doing more work on that. And then, of course, we've had ongoing awakening dialogue with Patty, which was, we really want to keep, so much we want to do at once, but it's going to take years. It's spiral learning. But that's completely relevant to love and compassion, because so often we hurt each other by the way we communicate. We don't mean to, but there are skills that we haven't learned. And perhaps the one that comes up again and again is even the first step, which is self-empathy. That already is quite a big step for us to learn to make friends with ourselves, which goes back to what I was saying about this our love and compassion, and not even being able to have love and compassion towards ourselves, or even to recognize our own ability to love and be compassionate, even towards. It's almost like we cut ourselves out from it and then wonder why we can't feel it for others. So there's a huge area there, which of course feeds directly back into DHB. I mean, it's like they're just different ways of talking about the same thing in more practical ways. We also had Dharma art, which is also a way into love and compassion, strangely, it might seem. But why do we approach our life in such a clumsy and distorted and ungracious way? Why do we approach life like that, when in fact if you really get into that place where, that artist place, if you like, where what is that? If you approach your life like that, that's so much kinder, isn't it? So much richer. This is what gives life meaning. Every detail of your life becomes meaningful if you approach it whatever we mean by art. I mean, I definitely have a sense of what I mean by art. It's a real intuitive sense of the meaningfulness and the wholeness of things that comes from some sort of point of creative point almost, and sort of just kind of working with that and trying to discover that in ourselves. It definitely relates to love and compassion. And then, of course, we've been trying to work with personal accountability to the we within the way we hold our meetings in the Mahayana. Like, do we actually express ourselves? Do we actually listen properly to other people? Do we really listen to receive wisdom, or do we just come into situations with a, sense of come on, let's get things done, and then sort of impatience and so on? But to really link in and take responsibility for how the whole meeting is being conducted so that it actually achieves its purpose. It's a tremendously loving thing to do, and a lot of learning there. I mean, we come in with a good motive, and then we push and we shove and we get upset and, don't listen properly, and it ends up with frustration, and that's not kind to anybody. So, and then there's diversity and inclusion workshops that, for people who are deaf, for people with gender differences and so on. So we've been looking at that, which again, we don't want people to suffer. We want to kind of include everybody. We're a very compassionate society, actually. I mean, all our laws are about not harming each other. So legally, we have responsibilities as a charity, to kind of look after each other, make sure that people are not abused or not taking responsibility where they need to. So we've done work on that, Five and Kathy, and I hope I'm not leaving people out. Been working on that whole side of things. Okay, it's a legal requirement, but it's also love and compassion, isn't it? How do we make sure that people feel if they have a problem, they know who to go to and how to work with it? It's amazing we've done all this year, isn't it? It's absolutely amazing. And there's been a lot of individual initiatives of people getting into groups and working with each other. This is something that Tara's got a group that she might be telling us about, and other people have done this as well. They sort of found ways of supporting each other, sort of one-to-one or into small groups. So all this is relating to this, this basic topic, really, which always comes back first and foremost to self-empathy, that really recognizing your own nature in order to be able to express this love and compassion. Even the work we've done on body awareness. I mean, Dashu and Yönten are continuing to work on this, and Yönten's got a group that she's working on it. There's something so kind and just connecting with our body properly, becoming aware of who we are, what we are, within our embodied awareness, if you like. So often the way we are not kind to ourselves is by treating our whole body as something that is like alien to us. Trying to drive forward, or even feeling ashamed of it. There's so many ways that we can have attitudes towards our body which reflect a lack of love and compassion, which is going to limit our being able to link into the true love and compassion of the universe. So all of these things are relevant. I didn't expect to find anything that wasn't relevant, actually. But I just wanted to stress that point, that whatever it is we're doing in Dharma, it is all about this. And you can forget everything else, but not this. On our deathbed, we can forget everything else, but not this. So that's my main point, and I want to ask Tara to just say a few words about how she envisages taking this whole area forward, and and I know other people have got ideas that they're going to take forward too. So do keep Tara informed so that she's got, she can inform people about what's happening in this area.
Hi everybody. So I think Lama Shenpen asked me to explore this whole area back in May, probably when we were just getting into the theme. And it is a huge area and very much just scratching the surface and enjoying exploring the themes with others. And I'm really grateful to all of you who've come along and chatted with me and practiced together with me. So what I've done in the last 6 months, I guess, is draw on materials that were already there. So way back, Yuntin, me and Cindy actually got together a package of materials on love and compassion. So I adapted those and added more to them, and now we have a little package that could be a 6-week course on the Apramanas. And I took 4 small groups through that package. And then people who've been through that 6-week course could also come and join me monthly for a drop-in where we practiced together and had a chat about how we were getting on with the Apramanas practice. And in those follow-up sessions, I had a play with doing some guided meditation around the Apramanas as well, just as a sort of, again, exploratory thing. How does this land? What's it like? Is it useful? In terms of taking that forward next year, the Apramanas, I think that the 6-week package, what I'm aiming to do is make that available in 2 ways. One way would be, again, a mentored group course, a bit like some of the DHB online groups that come together and work through it, and there's a lot of benefits from that in terms of learning from each other. Or alternatively, as a self-study package where people can access it and go through it by themselves, or maybe with a buddy, just to make it more available so that more people can access the materials. I might also, again, it very much depends on my time and energy and anyone else who wants to come along and help and join me. So there may well be the opportunity for more follow-up groups. And perhaps I'm quite inspired to think about offering a weekend on the Apramanas at some point. So all these are ideas I have. One thing actually that did come up in some of the groups was perhaps a need for a course pre-Apramanas. And Lama's been alluding to this a fair amount in terms of how we some of us have a tendency to beat ourselves up or generally not be very kind to ourselves at all. And maybe a first step to arrive at the starting place for engaging with the Apramanas would be a course on just getting to notice how unkind we are to ourselves and maybe kind of undoing some of that, or a little bit of help there, a little bit of attention given to coming to the starting place of the Apramanas. Of course, it's all spiral, so it doesn't have to be linear like that, but just looking at maybe getting some resources together on that pre-Apramanas. Yeah, where are we? What is this? What's going on? Tonglen was much more experimental for me because there weren't really, apart from one weekend that Lama gave in 2004, I think, and then this year's teachings, I had very little materials from Lama to go on. So I'm still in the process of building a little Google site with some resources. So that's work in progress. I did run 2 small groups going through a 6-week course on Tonglen, but I mean, I felt in no way competent to kind of lead. It was very much mutual exploration, what works, what doesn't work, and I learned a lot from that. I think we all did. I also ran some follow-up discussions for people who'd done the Apramanas already and wanted to do a little bit of dropping into Tonglen. So taking that forward, I feel I would like to finish off that package, make it a little bit more complete, and then run some more group 6-week courses on the Tonglen for people who've got a good basis in the Apramanas. As a secondary thing, perhaps they might want to explore the Tonglen. And one day it would be really nice to have a booklet on Tonglen like we have on the Apramanas. So that's an aspiration. But again, all this is I can't do this on my own. just putting it out there. And then the Lojong. So Lama began working through the Lojong materials, talking through the book, and then we had a few teachings from her on some of the Lojong slogans, the mind training slogans, and then Lama needed to finish without actually going through the whole book at that point, so we stopped there, and then I ran 4 weekly discussion groups with a small group of people who were interested, and that was great fun actually, because people just picked one slogan, went off for the week, tried it out in their daily life, and then came back and shared how they'd got on. And I found that a brilliant way to hone your attention in your daily life and bring the slogans alive. So I would be well up for doing a bit more on that. And maybe we can then draw a little bit more from Lama on some selected slogans that really stand out for us as useful, and get a little package there. But again, this is aspirational, depends on time, energy, but I really, really enjoyed that. I think it's a really useful daily life practice. Yeah, maybe we'll even have a booklet on Lojong as well. I mean, I think one of the things that I really appreciated was coming together with small groups of you and supporting each other. Actually, I found it supportive. My little group with Samton and Loshi, where we all kind of particularly shared, some of life's difficulties really, and how we can bring love and compassion right into the heart of dealing with difficulties. I found that really supportive, and I look forward to continuing that with more of you. So yeah, I'm around. Don't all get in touch at once. I love you all, but not all at once. Thank you.
In the middle of that, I thought of something important and it's gone again. So it'll come up at some point, I'm sure. So maybe it's a good moment to move to the second part of my presentation, which is into next year, which is the topic of insight into emptiness. Because something else that's been going on this year, as well as all that, is Elizabeth Callaghan has been going through Ocean of Certainty, isn't it? No, Moonbeams. Moonbeams, yeah, Mahamudra, Shamatha and Vipassana, and Dashi's been following that to some extent. I have, to some extent, but not as much as I would have liked to have done. And obviously, this second topic relates very strongly to Vipassana. But we can't really talk about Vipassana in the absence of, at the same time talking about Shamatha. And none of these things are separate, are they? I mean, in order to practice formless meditation, I mean, that is already a form of Shamatha and moving towards Vipassana. And then when we move into Vipassana, looking into the true nature of mind, looking into what is this mysterious emptiness that we need to realize, if you like, our true nature. And then particularly next year, I hope my plan is to look at Paticca and the early scriptures. In the Pali Canon is the best version we have of that. What the Buddha said about Paticca and how confusion arises, how there's avijja, and then the whole cycle of the dependent conditions, links that then create suffering. They are, once you've got avijja, then the way we see things, the way we feel things, the way we behave, we create samsara, we create Paticca of samsara, and that the way out of that is to step out of avidya into vidya. And so Dashu did a lot of work on this when he was in his year retreat, and he's talked about it with me a lot. And I think it really is very helpful when you want to understand the Mahamudra teachings, to have a good grounding in these early teachings, which are quite simple and direct. They're pretty direct and clear, and you can then see how that's now expressed in somewhat different language in the Mahamudra and Dzogchen traditions. But there's this real feeling of something very direct in both cases, that there's some, the guru, the teacher, can point you to somewhere in your own meditation practice, which is that difference between vidya and avidya. And that's the difference you've got to learn to recognize. And it's subtle, it's profound, it's revolutionary. But we do need to work on that and focus on that. So that would include talking about 3 signs of beings, the 4 noble truths, self and not self, all those kind of teachings. I really want to kind of get those bedded in. You could say, well, shouldn't they have been before we even went on to DHB? I think, it's spiral learning. So I think you might get a bit intellectual about it unless you had it really rooted in your experience. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dashu is able to present next year on that. We'll work together on that. But of course, we've got a whole lot of material on progressive stages, the different, the different views, Shravaka, Chittamatra, Madhyamaka, Prasangika, and Svatantrika, and the Shentong views, which then, if you look at those, the way Khenpo Rinpoche was teaching them, he was always connecting those to the Upadesha, the Mengak tradition that you get in Mahamudra. When I say Upadesha or Mengak, this is the oral transmission, the oral pointing out instructions. So in Maha, he's always pointing out in the songs of Milarepa, in the Mahamudra teachings, look, this is going through those 5 stages. So he's not thinking of those as schools of thought. He's thinking about these are deepening views on the nature of emptiness, of our true nature, and we can learn to recognize them in everything we're learning, really. So we have been doing that kind of work over the years, so I don't know how much of that we'll be repeating next year. I definitely want to spend more time on the early teachings of Paticca Samuppada and so on. And of course, this all relates to the Heart Sutra, which we do every morning, and there may be time to do more on that. I've already done teachings on the Heart Sutra, but I'm always happy to do more, because it yields and yields as time goes on. And there's a way that this all relates to what we were talking about this with Rizing Shikpo's teaching in October. Was it October? Anyway, whenever. About the 3 spheres. Because this question comes up so quickly for us. What are we relating to then, really? Like what is I mean, there's, yes, I can see it's experience, but in relationship to what? What is the other? And it comes up quickly, doesn't it, that question? How do we avoid solipsism? How is it not just me and my imagination? I mean, it's a huge question. I mean, in a way, that's why the scientific community avoids the question of, it doesn't go down the route of it all comes out of mind, because for them, mind is kind of solipsistic. It would mean that the universe was just my imagination, and they're not going to go there. And sometimes when I look at Western philosophy, I think it's almost the whole time a reaction against solipsism. How do we avoid solipsism if you start saying everything's mind. All we know is the mind, that's all we know for sure. But if we said that was all there was, then we're into solipsism, you know, sort of like we all need in our own little bubble of, you know, everything's my own invention. Hitchhiker's Guide to the galaxy. Yeah, that's right. So I think that's going to be very relevant to come back to that. Whether we'll get it in next year or not, I don't know. And then next year apparently is also the 10th anniversary of the stupa. So it'd be nice to revisit some of those teachings on the symbolism of the stupa and the Mahayana Sutra principles and things like that. Kind of trying to see them in the relationship to emptiness, because that's informs our whole view, really. So emptiness is kind of like, one of the things I would like to do at some point is to go through some Madhyamaka teachings, because I never have. I've never taught on Madhyamaka, actually. So Dashu and I have been discussing about, you know, like how much time we're going to have, you know, for events and but the same as with the love and compassion, we can get the ball rolling in various ways next year, so that, you know, as you go on over the decades practicing, you can revisit this whole area about emptiness and the different repercussions it has and different ways you could come back to look at it again as you spiral round. So that's the plan for next year. And I think I'd like Dashu to say something from his own side. I know I've already said some of the things that he wanted to say, but I think it'd be nice to hear him himself. Dashu?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Lama asked me, she said, yeah, tomorrow could you say a few words about what we've been talking about with the Pali independent origination? So I made a few notes, and Lama has just said everything. So all I can really add to that is, yeah, I've been really enthusiastic about this parallel between the Pali sources and the Mahamudra, and when I've been looking at these texts in parallel for quite a few years now, I suppose, in one form or another, with Satipatthana and talking about it with Lama Shempen and Elizabeth. And it's really coming alive for me, the importance of how we're looking at our experience as the difference between the conditioned by avijja and grasping, which is impermanent, and what is, you know, the Pali texts are very clear. What's impermanent is dukkha, and that is not to be taken as self. And I think that's what I'm picking up as really important, so that as we're looking at our experience in the right way, with right understanding and with pointing out instructions, the way that we relate to what is not self is really important, because when we relate to it with love and compassion, rather than trying to get rid of it or trying to dismiss it or ignore it or grasp it, that it's revealed as what it really is, which is empty of what is conditioned, empty of impermanence, empty of suffering, empty of what is not self, and that is the true nature of awakening, complete with all the qualities of love and compassion and wisdom and the skill to benefit beings and all that kind of stuff. And so I really see that the two of these areas of Pali, especially Four Noble Truths and Pratyeka Samappada, and how that relates to the pointing out instructions of Mahamudra. So I'm really keen to kind of move forward on that, and it's been great having these conversations with Lama Shempen. So how we're going to take that forward, I'm not entirely sure yet. I suspect that we'll do very similar to this year, where Lama Shempen gives us a weekend, and then I'd be willing to take anyone who's interested in sort of going through it in a bit more detail and looking at those Pali sources, and exploring that and discussing it and coming up with how that relates to the discovering the heart Buddhism. You know, if we're seeing what is not impermanent and what is not suffering, we're being pointed at the what is indestructible, what is the essence of our being, the indestructible heart essence. And, you know, the Mahamudra instructions that give us confidence in staying there with that, with the right view and right meditation, which then informs our conduct. So, yeah, I'm really keen on doing that. I've also, very late notice, just go back to what Lama said at the beginning then about not being sort of, you know, not separating Vipassana from Shamatha. At very late notice, I added the option for people to join me in January in my January retreat and have some of that to look at how the Mahamudra texts approach Shamatha practice. So if anyone's interested, you can look on the website and join in with that. There's nothing particularly formal about it, so much as just a chance for me to share my January retreat with anyone who wants to come and join me. And then we'll see what develops out of that, so maybe that's enough.
Oh, I remember the thing. So I just remembered what it was that I thought was important and I hadn't mentioned. And that was actually the pandemic. And which has dominated every other sort of news outlet there is. And that, you know, like how love and compassion related to that. And there was, Tara did various things and Luke did various things. I think Ellie did things for that we could give to people from here, from this hermitage, to kind of offer help or support for people during that time. Yeah, I mean, talking about the whole year and not even mentioning pandemic doesn't seem quite right, does it? It's been a very, well, it's been very significant, really, that during this time where we've all been in lockdown, and you know, people haven't been able to come to the hermitage, we've had bigger events than we've ever had before, actually, with huge turnout, and that's nice, isn't it? That we can have, you know, so many more people can join in online, and there's something quite interesting about when we're having an event here and people are there online in the background. It's different from when most people are online. You don't feel you're just sort of hanging on the outside somehow when it's like that. So it's been an interesting year from that point of view, hasn't it? And that sense of being able to be together, because we're not, you know, distance isn't really real, is it? Like, you know, people are all different places in the world, but when they're all here together, the real space that we're in is our space together, isn't it? It doesn't really matter if you can see each other or not, except that because of our, you know, the limits put on us by our own senses. But if you actually had supernormal powers, you could just be with somebody wherever they were. Maybe they're not supernormal powers, maybe they're our real powers that we've cut ourselves off from by thinking that we're stuck inside our bodies in some weird way. Anyway, I found that really interesting and quite inspiring, really, that we can actually reach out to each other in this way. So that's it. And now you're going to have a discussion, I think, aren't you? Don't know if anybody wants to ask something. We've got another little bit of time.
Would you like to say anything about the discussion? What might be fruitful for us to...
Have you got an idea how to focus it?
Or we could share how the theme of love and compassion has affected us this year and how we might want to take it forward. Or...
Yeah, so in general it's about what came up for you this year in terms of love and compassion and how you want to take it forward. And then maybe more specifically, you could home in on the apramanas, since we're going to be doing a transmission this afternoon. But do, don't feel constrained by that. That's an idea. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. I got through a lot in a very short time, didn't I? We dedicate this punya to the enlightenment of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings realize complete and perfect awakening. May the heart's awareness awaken in the unawakened. Where it has begun to stir, may it never fade, and may it awaken fully. Chanchu Semni Rinpoche Macha Panam Jejejik Jeba Nyamba Mapadam Kone Kondi Pelwasho Chanchu Semni Rinpoche Macha Panam Jejejik Jeba Nyamba Mapadam Kone Kondi Pelwasho Chanche Samne Rinpoche Macha Panam Jeje Jeba Nyamba Mapadam Kane Kandi Pelwasho. Hey. See you this afternoon. Have a good discussion.